Okay, today we're going to be doing another blind test, finally. Today we're going to be testing the new Crossfire controlling protocol. I started to talk to Trappy about this recently, because for the whole time I've had Crossfire, I've just been flying it on SBUS, the standard SBUS protocol, which obviously just felt exactly the same as FrSky SBUS to fly, so no difference whatsoever in terms of how the quad feels. But I've been told recently that the new protocol is a little bit faster, it's got a little bit less latency. Trappy said it's not something he can notice, but he wanted to get the opinion of, I guess, people that fly a little bit more frequently or whatever. And last night I spoke to Paul and Thomas Bitmarter, who said that they noticed it straight away, and that's about as a reputable source as you can get, I think. Yeah, so it's exciting to have maybe the next step in, I guess, just how well the quad flies. In the last, I guess, 12 months or so, we've had, for me, obviously that jump to SBUS was massive from PPM. Going to the 1.3 firmware on the KISS ESCs, the one before D-Shot, was a massive jump as well. Since then, there's not really been much of a change in terms of how the quads actually feel and how they fly. So I'm really looking forward to potentially a new jump, but yeah, we'll see. I'm going to run two quads. One's got the new protocol, one doesn't, and we'll see if we can notice a difference. All right, so what we're going to do, with the help of Paul, who's behind the camera, and Fulvio here is going to give me a hand plugging in. These two quads are identical, as far as I won't be able to tell which one's which when we're flying, because the OSDs and everything, camera settings are all exactly the same. So I'm going to go stand over there. Paul, Fulvio is going to plug one of them in, and I'm going to fly one after the other.
0 volts.
Lucky they weren't plugged in.
So for you guys, the one with the Drone Lab battery strap on the top there has got SBUS on it, and then the one with the Bolt battery strap on the GoPro, this one is the new control protocol for Crossfire, and the basic difference between them is SBUS runs at 50 Hertz and this runs at 150 Hertz. So in theory this should have less control input latency and it should feel better to fly. So the blind test is just to see whether that's bullshit or to see whether I can actually feel the difference. So I've flown about 15 packs or something this morning. We're in an area that I'm super familiar with, so there shouldn't be any issues with me being able to fly pretty close to my limit. So yeah, it's about the best environment I can come up with to be able to really tell like any finite difference. If it's noticeable, then I'll notice it. So I'll put these over here.
Crossfire.
Okay. Thoughts? If I had to guess, I'd say this is the new one, because it feels absurdly crisp. But I should point out that in order to make all these changes happen, I had to update firmware on literally every single component in my quads. So KISS ESC firmware, KISS flight controller firmware, which has now got all the adaptive filtering, my OpenTX firmware. And if this was the SBUS quad, this would be the first time I'd flown SBUS with those changes. So right now, my guess is that this is the new protocol, but until I've flown the second one, I won't really know for sure. Because I spent the whole morning flying on the new one. And it felt great, but until you really fly these things, test something back to back in the same conditions, you don't really know for sure.
30 seconds.
Fuck, this quad flies so well. Ridiculous.
20
cloud of mosquitoes that's real.
Is it?
Yeah. It's like I can barely see you.
Jesus. Alright, I'll go land next to the other one. Not so I can't see it. So I can't see it. Alright. GoPro's not turning on, bruh.
Nope, there it goes.
Break, right? That mustache though. Alright, we ready?
We're ready.
This is SBUS.
10,
Why?
It just feels a little bit sloppier.
9, 8,
I hope I'm fucking right.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
The quad still flies just as well, but yeah.
1. Timer 1 elapsed.
Shut up, bitch. Oh, my finger slipped off.
That's what they all say.
Take that, tree.
And crashed.
A bad thing happened. Alright, well that's the end of that. So, was I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Were you right?
Was I right?
Yes.
Yes! It's actually really obvious.
Is it?
Like, I could tell pretty much as soon as I took off. So your input control, just as you're throttling up.
Yep. That's a good test actually, isn't it? Just to see what the difference is between the latency.
Yeah, because you did the... Did you do the prop one with me?
Yeah.
No,
I've done
you
one
did
with
something
them.
else.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of these, and I think the only time I got it wrong was with D-Shot, and that's because
That's the one I did.
D-Shot made no difference.
Yep.
The step up with the ESC control was the firmware update before D-Shot.
Yeah, there you go. That's what was wrapped around you.
Yeah, so this is the SBUS one.
Yep.
There you go.
Psychedelic SBUS.
Illuminati confirmed. Good work, Trappy.
So did Trappy
It
say
legit flies better. He said
6 to 8?
he said on paper it. Oh, I don't know. Well, no, he didn't say anything about the latency number. He just said that SBUS is 50 hertz.
Yep.
And whatever the other one is
80.
is 150.
150. Wow. So that's a pretty big difference.
So he
between
did say
the
that
two.
it's what it does is it limits the range a little bit.
Yeah.
And what it will do is when it gets to its limit, like it's got a certain threshold with its RSSI, is it'll drop it back to 50. But I mean, it's still only dropping it back to what was originally,
Yeah.
you know, the benchmark anyway. And he said if you're talking line of sight, that threshold is around 2.5 to 3 kilometers. Now, obviously, it's going to be heaps less if you're flying behind a building, but I still think that's plenty. So, what that means, if you're all wondering what our test means, is that if you currently just run FrSky, then now you have to go out and buy
Crossfire.
a Crossfire module, and you have to spend $80 on an RX for every quad that you own.
Yeah. But don't put that in the video.
No big deal.
Still better than Futaba.
I mean, sorry, you've got to spend a small amount of money on a new RX for each quad.
Yeah, that's better.
I don't know how much it is in each country, so it doesn't matter. It's fine. Okay, proper closing for this video. So it's the next day, and I've done a little bit more homework, so I've slightly more of an idea what I'm talking about now. So first of all, it's CRSF, not CSRF, which is quite obviously just an abbreviation for Crossfire, which I didn't realise until now because I'm an idiot. Micro RXs, which is this little guy. These were really expensive. They're about to get a lot cheaper. There's a big price drop coming this month, partially due to this guy coming out, this is the new transmitter module, which just came out. It's a lot cheaper than the original one. Does 100 milliwatts, does pretty much everything you're going to need for a mini quad. So that'll make life a bit easier if you're looking to get into Crossfire. So the differences on the performance, it's similar to PPM to SBUS different. It isn't quite as big of a difference, but I would say if you're pretty on top of your flying and you're flying setups that are, you know, pretty similar, so you're basically running the same specs on your quads and the same tune, and you're not chopping and changing components all the time, I'm going to say personally 100% you'll notice a difference. So yeah, I mean, you know, try it for yourself and see what you think. But that's my opinion based on what I felt testing it yesterday. And other people have tested it as well. Thomas Bitmarter tested it and used it to win yet another competition over the weekend, the Adelaide International Fair something, I don't know. But yeah, killed the competition as usual. And yeah, I think they started using it because there was a lot of RF issues in the location they were at. So they figured they'd give Crossfire a go, and then we're not even really expecting there to be a latency difference, I don't think, but still noticed it straight away. So it's available on everything already. So KISS, Betaflight, Raceflight is available on all of them. I think in beta form, but it's been getting tested for quite a while. So for example, I noticed that Banny put up a video almost 2 years ago now where he was testing one of the very early sort of development versions of CRSF. So I'll link that in the description below. But yeah, they've been working on it for quite a while, so it's pretty solid. So I guess in closing, is it worth the switch? So I've been asked a lot of times in general, is Crossfire worth switching to? I've always said yes, but it's been a pretty hard sell because it was really expensive to do, and the only thing that I really knew about it that was better was that the range was, you know, you could adjust your power outputs on your module, and 900 megahertz or thereabouts was just generally going to be a better frequency than 2.4 for, you know, a more robust controlling. Now that it's a lot cheaper, and now that the receivers are getting cheaper, because obviously, you know, if you switch, you're going to have to switch on all of your quads. So the price drop on the receivers, which is coming later this month, I think, is going to make life a lot easier. Yeah, so, you know, the benefits are, from my point of view anyway, is the range. So just having a more, you know, a stronger control link that's going to at least keep up with or outdo your really high-powered 5.8 setup. But now there's obviously a performance difference as well. So I mean, I'll probably struggle to go back. Up until now, I've had a combination of, like, some of my quads were on Crossfire and some of them were on 2.4. I'm just going to switch all of them to Crossfire now because I can't switch between the two. The performance difference for me is enough that if I get used to Crossfire and then I switch back to SBUS, it will hinder my flying, and that's not really something I want to do. I've always wanted to have my quads, like, however many I have, you know, whether it's 2 or 6, I want them all to fly exactly the same. And the difference is far too big that it would probably cause me to crash. Oh, and there's a lot more flexibility with the protocol, so I'm pretty limited understanding about this sort of stuff, so it's not something I'm going to talk about too much yet. But yeah, it does work with the Lewis scripts. It does allow a lot more flexibility with how you use telemetry and being able to pull information from multiple sources or send it back to multiple sources, or, you know, whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see how the development goes. It's still, you know, fairly early on, but I think it's got a lot more scope to be useful in the future. So yeah, let us know in the comments below what you think, whether it's something you're going to consider switching to now that it's, you know, price has dropped and there's actual performance gains and that sort of thing. And I'll see you in the next one.